My friend, hear this clearly and let it settle deep within you. This is not an ordinary day, and this is not a random moment passing by. This is a divine interruption, a holy announcement, a prophetic word reaching across time and landing directly in your spirit. The waiting season has ended. The delay has reached its conclusion. Prepare yourself for the favor of God to meet what you have been praying for, crying out for, and fighting through. It is closer than you think. You have walked through valleys. You have endured nights so heavy that hope felt almost extinguished. You stood at the edge, weighed down by discouragement, with only enough strength to whisper, "God, win." And heaven was watching. Heaven was listening. And heaven responded. Not on your schedule, not by your timeline, but by divine order. That appointed moment has now arrived. God is about to release a level of favor so powerful it will erase years of sorrow with a single breakthrough. You were tested not because you were overlooked, but because you were selected. The pressure was not punishment. It was preparation. God never tests what He does not intend to entrust with more. You believed you were being buried, but God was planting you. Now the roots are deep. The foundation is secure. The weight you carried was never wasted. It was shaping your future and working in your favor. Some of you feel like you've been stuck in a silent season. No signs, no wonders, no open doors. But I came to declare today, silence does not mean absence. God has not abandoned you. God has not overlooked you. Sometimes before God reveals the blessing, He hides it in a season of stillness so you can grow into the kind of person who can carry it. But hear me now. This is the hour when the silence is breaking. The stillness is ending. God's favor is coming in waves. You didn't cry for nothing. You didn't sacrifice for nothing. You didn't forgive those who betrayed you for nothing. Every tear watered the promise. Every prayer paved the path. Every sleepless night refined your spirit. And now God is about to reward you in public for what you endured in private. The tables are turning. The door that wouldn't open before will swing wide now. Not because you forced it, but because God favors you. Favor is not about who you are. It's about who God is. God sees what people overlook. God promotes those others try to disqualify. God blesses those who are mocked, those who are underestimated, those who are counted out. If you feel invisible in this world, get ready, because God is about to shine a light so bright on your life that even your enemies will have to acknowledge it. They'll say, "Surely this was the hand of God." You may not have the credentials. You may not have the connections. But you've got the covering. God's favor is not something that can be explained. It's something that is seen. When God favors you, rules are broken. Protocols are suspended. Systems shift. What should have taken years happens in days. What was closed for others opens for you. What was impossible becomes your reality. That's favor. And God says, "You're next." You didn't miss your moment. You didn't mess up so badly that God changed His mind. God's favor is not dependent on your perfection. It's activated by your faith. And your faith through every struggle, every failure, every delay, every unanswered question, your faith has been enough. It's been seen, it's been heard, and now it will be rewarded. You held on when others let go. You believed when it made no sense. You worshiped even with an aching heart. and God never forgot it. Get ready, because the very thing that tried to break you is going to bless you. The very situation that was meant to destroy you is going to define your victory. God doesn't let His people stay in the wilderness forever. There comes a day when the cloud moves, when the manna falls fresh, when the river parts and the promise becomes real. That day is here. The wait is over. Stop apologizing for being favored. Stop explaining why you survived when others sank. You survived because God carried you. You're standing because God sustained you. And now He's about to elevate you, not for your glory, but for His purpose. You were not saved to be silent. You were not spared to stay hidden. God's favor is going to put you in rooms you didn't ask for, with opportunities you didn't chase, because favor follows obedience. There's something powerful about waiting well. When you wait with trust, you're not just wasting time, you're gaining strength. You're learning to hear God's voice. You're building spiritual muscle. So don't resent the wait. It made you ready for the favor that's about to come. Because favor without preparation is dangerous. But now you're ready. You've been refined. You've been humbled. You've been purified in the fire. And now God says, "Step forward, my child. The season has shifted. The blessing is released." People may not recognize what you've carried. They may never understand the weight you've had to lift behind closed doors. But God knows. God saw it all. And favor doesn't need approval. It doesn't require permission. When God decides to favor you, not even your past can stop it. Not even the mistakes you made in ignorance can delay it. Because when God says it's time, nothing can say otherwise. And child of God, it's time. You are not forgotten. You are not left behind. The heavens have scheduled your favor. The winds are blowing in your direction. And even though it's taken longer than you thought, it's going to be bigger than you imagined. This is not just a season, it's a shift. You're going from barely making it to more than enough. From overlooked to overflowing. From weeping to rejoicing. From broken to blessed. God's favor is not fair. It's divine. That means it won't always make sense. Some people will look at your life and wonder how you got where you are. Let them wonder. Let them talk. Let them speculate. Your job is not to explain. Your job is to worship. Your assignment is to glorify God with your life. Let your story be proof that God can lift anyone, favor anyone, use anyone, if they just believe. The wait is over for your healing. The wait is over for your breakthrough. The wait is over for that long-awaited answer. You've circled this mountain long enough. You've wept beside this closed door long enough. Now God says, go forward. The Red Sea is parting. The Jordan is opening. The wall is shaking. Because favor isn't just coming to visit, it's coming to dwell. Get your heart ready. Clean your spirit. Remove bitterness. Clear the doubts. Make room in your life, because the blessing is about to be too big for your current space. Enlarge your faith. Stretch your expectation. Don't look for crumbs when God is preparing a feast. You are about to feast in the presence of what once threatened to starve you. Favor is about to silence every lie, every mocker, every delay. Do not worry about who didn't support you. Do not be bitter over who walked away. They had to leave so that God could show you who never would. They had to reject you so that God could appoint you. The ones who doubted you will soon have no choice but to watch God's favor crown your life. And they will say, This had to be divine. Yes, it was. It is. And it will continue to be. You are not too late. You are not too old. You are not too damaged. Favor has no age limit. Favor is not restricted by your income, your background, your status, or your scars. God lifts up the lowly. He makes the weak strong. He turns the last into the first. If you've been counted out, you're exactly who God wants to count in. Hold your head high, not in arrogance, but in assurance. Assurance that God is with you. Assurance that favor is not a fantasy, it's a fact. It's written in the spiritual realm. And now it's manifesting in your reality. The pain had a purpose. The waiting had a timeline. And the timeline has reached its appointed hour. Get ready. Get ready with expectation. Get ready with praise. Don't wait for it to appear before you believe it. Believe it, and it will appear. God does not move by doubt. He moves by faith. And if your faith has endured, your favor is guaranteed. When God decrees a season of favor, nothing in heaven or earth can resist it. Not the plots of people, not the systems of the world, not even the doubts in your own heart. When God speaks a word of blessing, it breaks every barrier, overrides every human opinion, and crushes every opposition. When God says, "Enough waiting," no gate can stay closed. No hand can withhold what belongs to you. There is a sacred shift taking place in your life, and you must be bold enough to walk in it. For too long, many of you have been shrinking in fear, dimming your light to make others comfortable, holding your tongue to avoid conflict. But here, the ones who were meant to walk with you will see the hand of God on your life, and they will rejoice with you. And the ones who can't handle it, let them go. Favor does not chase approval. It flows from the approval of God alone. Stop measuring your future by your past. You are not the mistakes you made. You are not the labels people placed on you. You are not the circumstances that crushed you. You are what God calls you. Blessed, worthy, chosen, favored. The same God who watched you suffer in silence is the same God who is now bringing a breakthrough so loud it will echo into generations. And when God favors you, He doesn't just bless you, He breaks cycles. He ends generational curses. He reverses the plans of those who tried to destroy you. He builds you up so that others may find shelter in your testimony. God's favor is not about ease, it's about elevation. It lifts you beyond your limitations, stretches you beyond your comfort zone, and positions you where you never imagined you'd stand. And you must prepare your heart not just for the blessing, but for the responsibility that comes with it. Because when God favors you, He expects you to carry it with humility, to walk with integrity, to speak with courage, and to act with justice. Some of you are still questioning, why now? Let me tell you, because God knows what you can handle now that you couldn't handle before. There's a strength in you that came from the suffering. There's a discernment in you that came from the betrayal. There's a fire in your spirit that came from being pushed into the furnace. And God was watching the whole time, not to punish you, but to purify you. Because only purified vessels can carry the weight of divine favor. Do not mistake quiet seasons for wasted time. In the hidden place, God was crafting something extraordinary. In the silence, He was setting divine appointments. He was aligning resources, stirring hearts, and preparing paths. While you were focused on survival, God was focused on strategy. He was making a way behind the scenes so that when the curtain lifts, your story will bring glory to His name. And now the time has come. The appointed hour has arrived. What was once invisible is about to be undeniable. There is no storm that can cancel a word spoken by God. No delay can nullify what has been divinely ordained. You see, God does not work on man's timeline. He is not pressured by clocks, nor hurried by calendars. But when God moves, it's always the right time, perfect timing, divine precision. And this moment, this very moment, is no accident. If you are hearing this, it's because God wanted you to know your waiting was not in vain. His favor is now resting on your life like the early morning dew, soft but unmistakable. Favor means acceleration. What took others years will take you months. What others had to labor endlessly for will come into your hands with ease. Not because you are better, but because God has chosen to place His hand upon you for a purpose. That's why it's crucial to stay grounded in gratitude. Favor is not a prize. It's a responsibility. It's not to boast. It's to bless. It's not just for your benefit. It's for the transformation of everything and everyone connected to you. Do not let bitterness contaminate your favor. Do not let jealousy rob you of your peace. If someone else gets blessed before you, rejoice because it means God is in the neighborhood. And if He's moving in their life, He can surely move in yours. Celebrate others' favor as a sign that your own is on the way. Because God is not limited in supply. He blesses according to purpose, not popularity. According to timing, not talent. And your time is now. There are doors you couldn't open no matter how hard you tried. You knocked, you fasted, you pleaded, still they stayed closed. But do you know why? Because God was reserving something better. He was not denying you, He was protecting you. Some of the things you begged for would have distracted you from what He truly had in store. God loves you too much to give you what looks good but isn't His best. And now that your heart is aligned, your motives are pure, your spirit is ready, He is releasing the door that only He can open. And when He opens it, no man can shut it. Let this truth settle deep in your soul. You do not have to chase favor. You align with God, and favor chases you. You stay faithful in the field, and God will call you to the palace. You honor God in obscurity, and He will exalt you in visibility. That's how God works. He doesn't promote according to popularity. He promotes according to purpose. You have cried long enough. You have waited long enough. You have questioned long enough. Now it is time to rise, to walk boldly into what God has prepared for you, not with arrogance, but with assurance, not with fear, but with faith. For you are not walking into the unknown. You are walking into fulfillment. You are stepping into a realm that was crafted for you before you even knew to pray for Him. And don't be surprised if the favor of God brings you into rooms you never imagined. Don't be surprised if He causes your name to be mentioned in places where your feet have not yet walked. That's the power of divine favor. It goes ahead of you. It speaks for you. It establishes your name before you arrive. Not because of who you are, but because of who God is. And when the favor manifests, when the doors swing open, when the answers come, when the breakthroughs flood in, remember who brought you there. Do not let the blessing make you forget the blesser. Stay grounded. Stay grateful. Stay humble, for the same God who raised you up can sustain you. And if you honor Him with your increase, He will multiply it beyond anything you could ask or imagine. Some of you are entering into a season of restoration. What was stolen from you is about to be returned sevenfold. What was broken is about to be rebuilt stronger. The relationships that were torn, the finances that were drained, the confidence that was shattered, God is restoring it all. You will not end this year the same way you began it. God's favor will redeem the time. You will recover. You will rise. You will reign, not in pride, but in purpose. Hear this with all your heart. You were born for this moment. Every trial prepared you. Every setback shaped you. Every delay taught you. And now God is trusting you with a new level. With favor comes weight. With favor comes responsibility. But don't fear the weight. God wouldn't have given it to you if He hadn't already placed the strength within you to carry it. Let your words be seasoned with grace. Let your hands be open to give. Let your spirit stay sensitive to God's direction. Because as you step into this new dimension of favor, your influence will grow. And with it the power to shift lives, to break chains, to speak life into the dry bones of others. This favor is not just for you. It is through you for the world around you. And now that the hour has come, you must prepare your mind to think differently. You must rise above the level of survival and embrace the mindset of abundance. Not material abundance alone, but abundance in strength, in peace, in clarity, in divine direction. For when God's favor comes, it doesn't just touch your outer life, it awakens something within. It revives the part of you that was crushed under years of disappointment. It breathes courage into the spaces where fear used to reside. When God moves, He revives the whole person, spirit, heart, and purpose. You must understand favor is not merely a gift. It is a divine assignment. With every blessing comes a calling. And with that calling comes the responsibility to walk with vision, to live with integrity, to speak with authority, and to serve with humility. God doesn't favor people to inflate their pride. He favors them to demonstrate His power. You are being positioned as a vessel, an instrument of hope in a generation drowning in confusion. The favor that is being poured into your life must overflow into the lives of others. It must heal, uplift, restore, and inspire. That is how the blessing multiplies. It flows outward, not inward. Do not underestimate the strategic nature of God's timing. You are not entering this moment by accident. God is deliberate. He is intentional. When He decides to lift someone, it is because there is a task that requires elevation. When He gives you more, it is because there are burdens around you that need lifting. Do not hoard the blessing. Share it. Speak into the broken. Cover the wounded. Encourage the weary. Lift those who are drowning under the same weight you once carried. Because the best proof of favor is not how high you rise, it's how many you pull up with you. And as God's favor expands in your life, there will be resistance. Not everyone will celebrate what God is doing in you, but that is the nature of elevation. It exposes the insecurity of those who remain stagnant. Do not shrink to make them comfortable. Not lower your light so that others can remain in the dark. Your rise is a testimony. Your success is a sermon. Your breakthrough is a bold declaration that God still lifts, still restores, still moves. And if they oppose it, let them. Because if God opens the door, no opposition can close it. This is why it is crucial that your heart stays tethered to truth. Stay anchored in discipline. Do not let success intoxicate your spirit. The favor of God is holy. It must be honored. Guard your mind from arrogance. Guard your soul from greed. Guard your motives from corruption. Because what you've received is not ordinary. It is sacred. It is divine. And if you handle it with reverence, God will continue to increase you, not just in what you have, but in who you become. Let your favor bring light, not shadows. Let it bring peace, not pride. Let it draw people toward God, not toward your ego. For the purpose of divine favor is always to fulfill the greater plan of the Almighty. You are being chosen as a carrier of purpose, and that purpose must not die in comfort. It must live in action. It must move with power. It must serve something beyond yourself. Listen closely, because these words are for those stepping into places you never thought you would reach. Be ready to be misunderstood. Be ready to be misjudged. But do not let it discourage you. God does not demand that people understand you. He asks that you remain faithful to Him. Favor often brings isolation before elevation. It reveals who is truly for you. It exposes hidden motives, jealous hearts, and quiet resistance. But let none of it shake you. Because if God is the one lifting you, no weapon formed against you will have the power to pull you down. Do not chase validation from voices that were never assigned to your life. The same people who laughed during your season of lack may try to connect to you in your season of increase. So walk with discernment. Not every smile is a celebration. Not everyone applauding your rise is pure in heart. But you were never called to carry the burden of their approval. You were called to stay aligned with God. And let your favor speak without you having to explain. Let your fruit speak. Let your peace speak. Let your consistency testify. You see, when God favors you, it's not always dramatic or loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's the invisible protection that shields you from danger. Sometimes it's the inner peace that confounds the storms outside. Sometimes it's the delay that seemed like a setback, but was actually a redirection to something greater. God's favor is not always fireworks. Often it is divine precision operating behind the scenes. But in this season, hear me, the favor will be visible. It will be unmistakable. You won't have to explain it. It will be seen in the clarity of your steps, the fruitfulness of your hands, the growth of your spirit. It will be seen in the joy that returns to your eyes, in the strength that returns to your voice. You will walk in rooms and shift atmospheres. You will speak and chains will fall. Not because you're great, but because God's greatness is resting on you. Stay committed to prayer. Stay rooted in reflection. Stay humble in prosperity. Favor without reverence becomes pride, but favor carried with devotion becomes a testimony. And that is what your life will be. A living testimony that God can lift the forgotten, crown the overlooked, and anoint the ordinary for extraordinary impact. And let this be clear. Favor does not mean the absence of trials. It means triumph in the midst of them. It means God will walk with you through the fire and not let you be consumed. It means He will let the enemy form a weapon, but not let it prosper. It means He will stretch you, shake you, mold you, but never abandon you. Favor is the promise that you're never walking alone. Even when others disappear, even when the road is unclear, Even when the night is long, God is still with you, and He is for you. Some of you have been asking, why now? Why is the breakthrough coming at this point in your life? Why is the answer arriving after so many years? I'll tell you why. Because the vessel is now strong enough to carry the weight of the blessing. Had it come earlier, it would have crushed you. But now you've been fortified, you've been disciplined, you've been humbled, you've been trained, and what once would have destroyed you now propels you. The blessing didn't change, the vessel did. And that is why the weight was necessary. God always operates divine order. He never releases power before maturity, never releases authority without wisdom, never releases increase without stewardship. And now that your hands are ready, your heart is healed, your vision is aligned, God has released the favor that was always written into your story. Walk in it, declare it, live it, not with fear, not with apology, but with unwavering reverence. You are favored not by chance, but by calling. And the calling demands that you rise above pettiness, distractions, and drama. It demands that you fix your eyes on purpose, that you no longer chase approval, but pursue assignment, that you stop rehearsing your failures and start rehearsing your faith. And now that God has declared the wait is over, you must make sure your heart is not still living in yesterday. You cannot step into favor with a mind trapped in delay. The season is changed, but if you do not perceive it, you will miss the very thing you've prayed for. God has shifted the atmosphere, but you must shift your thinking. You must leave behind the identity that suffering tried to stamp upon you. You are not a victim. You are a vessel. You are not just someone who survived. You are someone God has chosen to thrive. And the moment you embrace this truth, the flow of divine favor will not just touch you, it will surround you. This is a moment for radical faith, not a safe, cautious faith that tiptoes around obedience. No, this is a time for bold, mountain-moving, risk-taking, God-honoring faith. The kind of faith that steps forward even when the next step is invisible. The kind that builds the ark before the rain comes. The kind that walks into the fire believing that even if it burns, God is still worthy. That is the kind of faith favor responds to. That is the kind of faith that breaks cycles, overturns verdicts, and silences every voice of opposition. When God decides to release favor, He doesn't ask permission. He does not consult your past. He does not take a vote. He simply moves. And when He moves, everything must bow. Timing, resources, relationships, opportunities. The wind begins to blow in your favor, and doors that seemed rusted shut begin to unlock. Hearts that were cold begin to turn. Pathways that were hidden begin to light up. Why? Because when God releases favor, even the natural realm must obey. You must prepare for this favor with integrity. Many people desire elevation, but few prepare their character to handle it. When God blesses you, what you do next reveals whether it was favor or fantasy. Favor will expose what's inside of you. It will stretch you. It will test your discipline. It will call for more prayer, not less. More humility, not applause. Because if you are not anchored in God, favor can become a trap instead of a testimony. But when you are rooted in submission and clothed in reverence, the favor that comes will not destroy you. it will define you. God's favor is precise. It doesn't land on everyone at once. It falls on those who have walked through the fire with their faith intact. It descends upon those who have served silently, given generously, and endured faithfully. God does not forget those who honored Him when there was no audience, no reward, no applause. He remembers the hidden tears, the quiet acts of obedience, the unseen sacrifices, and now He is rewarding openly what was done faithfully in secret. Let the critics come. Let the doubters whisper. Let the envious watch from a distance. They cannot stop what God has ordained. They may try to discredit you, but they cannot disqualify you. For your validation does not come from man, it comes from God. And when God favors you, even your enemies will be forced to witness it, not for your ego, but for God's glory. This is why you must not delay your obedience. When God speaks, move. When He instructs, act. When He convicts, correct. For favor is not just about receiving, it is about responding. It is not enough to celebrate the blessing. You must steward it. You must protect the environment in which favor can flourish. That means removing distractions, cutting ties with compromise, and saying no to what once felt comfortable. Because favor and complacency cannot dwell in the same house. Understand that God's favor does not mean every battle disappears. In fact, it may attract more warfare. But the difference is, now you do not fight alone. Now the battle is not yours, it is God's. When you are favored, attacks will come, but they will fail. Traps will be set, but they will be exposed. Weapons will be formed, but they will not prosper. Because favor is not just about open doors, it is divine protection. It is God going before you and clearing the path, even when you cannot see what's ahead. This is the moment to stretch your faith wider than your fear. To believe for things you once deemed unreachable. To step into dreams that felt too big, too bold, too delayed. Favor is not just about what you can imagine. It's about what only God could make possible. If your dream doesn't require divine intervention, it may not be rooted in divine favor. But when you're walking in true favor, doors open that you never knew existed. God will put your name in places you've never set foot. He will cause people to pour into you who don't even know why they're doing it. Because favor draws what effort alone cannot earn. Do not reduce your expectation just because of past disappointments. You may have been denied before. You may have been overlooked, misjudged, underestimated. But now it's your time. The rejection was redirection. The delay was divine development. And now that the favor is falling, your only responsibility is to be ready. Ready in your spirit, ready in your mind, ready in your actions. This is not the time to shrink. This is the time to walk boldly in what God has declared over your life. Favor will teach you who truly belongs in your life. Everyone who started with you may not finish with you. Some people were only assigned to your season of struggle, not your season of success. And that's all right. Let them go with peace, but do not grieve over what God has pruned. When God favors you, He purifies your surroundings. He removes distractions. He clears away anyone who cannot handle the weight of what is coming next. So do not mourn what you've lost. Rejoice over what you've been preserved for. The favor of God will mark your life in such a way that even places of pain will become places of praise. Where there was betrayal, God will bring loyalty. Where there was confusion, God will bring clarity. Where there was scarcity, God will bring overflow. The shift is not coming, it is already in motion. All God requires is that you believe and remain faithful. Not perfect, but faithful. Not flawless, but willing. Willing to be used, to be molded, to be led. That's all God needs to release more than you ever asked for. And now, as this divine word pierces through your soul, hear it with the urgency of a trumpet in the wilderness. God is not just opening the door. He is commanding you to walk through it. No more hesitation. No more second-guessing yourself. No more shrinking under the weight of opinions or past failures. When God says the wait is over, it's not a suggestion, it's a summons, a sacred call to rise and move into the territory that has been spiritually marked for your name. This is not a time to debate, it's a time to obey. There is a point in every chosen life where the wilderness must give way to the promise, where the wandering must bow to divine direction. And when that point comes, God does not negotiate with your comfort zone. He disrupts it. He shakes you loose from what is familiar so He can plant you in what is fruitful. You must be willing to release the pain of where you've been to receive the blessing of where you're going. You cannot bring yesterday's identity into today's opportunity. The identity of the wounded, the rejected, the overlooked, that's not who you are anymore. God has called you favored, and His word is final. Do not underestimate the power of alignment. Favor flows not just where there is desire, but where there is alignment with God's will. Too many chase favor while walking in disobedience and then wonder why the door remains closed. But God does not bless chaos. God does not favor rebellion. Favor demands surrender. You must surrender your timeline, your method, your ego, your attachments, everything. And when you do, God will pour out more than you could have ever achieved by striving alone. This is why humility must be your constant companion. Because the higher you rise, the deeper your roots must grow. And if your roots are not grounded in the fear and reverence of God, the very favor that lifted you will become the weight that crushes you. But if you remain rooted in truth, in obedience, in worship, then no height will shake you. No platform will poison you. No influence will derail you. Instead, it will all point back to the one who made it possible. Let your life now reflect readiness. Let your daily actions declare to God, I am prepared to be used. Your habits, your words, your posture, let them all say, I've waited well, and now I will walk wisely, for there is no room in this next season for casual faith. You must be intentional. You must guard your mind like a fortress. You must silence every voice that contradicts what God has spoken, because where God is taking you, clarity is crucial. You cannot afford to be distracted by noise, discouraged by delay, or derailed by doubt. Understand, favor does not eliminate the process. It elevates you through it. You will still be tested. You will still face pressure. But now that pressure will no longer break you, it will build you. The process becomes the proof that the favor was real. And when others see the power in your peace, the authority in your words, and the fruit in your life, they will know it wasn't by chance. It was by the hand of God. This favor will bring restoration. Some of you have lost years to things that drained your joy, your hope, your vision. But God is a restorer. He restores the time. He restores the dignity. He restores the confidence. He restores the relationships that honor Him. And when He restores, He doesn't give you what you lost. He gives you better. Because when God restores, it comes back refined, elevated, blessed, and fortified. And don't be surprised when your environment begins to change. When people you once leaned on begin to drift. When doors you used to knock on no longer matter. Because favor doesn't just bring blessing, it brings separation. Separation from distractions. Separation from familiar spirits that kept you bound. Separation from cycles that served a lesser version of you. And though it may feel lonely for a season, it is holy. It is necessary, for you cannot enter divine territory with earthly baggage. God is calling you to walk with confidence, not arrogance. With boldness, not recklessness. With clarity, not confusion. And you must know this: the same God who brought you to this point will sustain you beyond it. He did not bring you into favor just to watch you fall. He brought you here so you could reflect His glory, so you could show what it looks like when someone puts God first in all things. Through the struggle and the victory. Through the pain and the promise. This is not the end of the journey. It is the unfolding of destiny. You are not here by coincidence. Every scar, every delay, every lesson was part of a divine blueprint. And now the foundation has been set. The structure is ready. And God is placing the crown of favor upon your head. Not a crown of pride, but a crown of purpose. Walk with it. Carry it with reverence. Live in a way that honors it. From this moment forward, make a decision in your heart: I will not go back. I will not doubt. I will not let fear rule me. I will not let failure define me. I will not trade this favor for fleeting pleasures or empty applause. I will steward what God has given me. I will rise not for my name, but for God's name. I will live not for comfort, but for calling. I will fight not with anger, but with spiritual power, because I know who brought me here, and I know who sustains me here. There is more to come, greater territory, deeper wisdom, higher assignments, and every step of the way, the favor of God will guide you like a fire in the night and a cloud by day. Do not resist the movement. Do not fear the unknown. The one who opened this door will walk through it with you. He will provide the strength. He will give the words. He will prepare the way. Because when God declares the wait is over, He also guarantees the journey ahead. So go forward boldly, faithfully, unshakably. For you are walking in a season that has been written in heaven long before you ever knew how to dream it. And now it is being fulfilled. Not by might, not by wealth, not by the hands of men, but by the will and power of God alone. So now let your spirit rise and your faith stand firm, because what God has spoken over your life will not return empty. The season of waiting, the nights of weeping, the years of silence, they were not in vain. They were preparation. Every closed door was a divine shield. Every delay was a sacred lesson. And now God has declared the wait is over. Walk with reverence. Speak with power. Live with purpose. Because you are not stepping into chance. You are stepping into the fulfillment of God's appointed time. The favor on your life is not a temporary moment. It is a mark of divine calling. And with it comes a higher standard, a deeper responsibility, and a greater outpouring. Stay humble. Stay watchful. Stay surrendered. For the same God who lifted you is the same God who will keep you, strengthen you, and carry you from glory to glory. Let no fear stop your forward motion. Let no voice silence your testimony. You were born for this hour, anointed for this time, chosen for this season. And now go. Step forward with unwavering faith. The wait is over. God's favor has come. So now let your spirit rise and your faith stand firm, because what God has spoken over your life will not return empty. The season of waiting, the nights of weeping, the years of silence, they were not in vain. They were preparation. Every closed door was a divine shield. Every delay was a sacred lesson. And now God has declared the wait is over. Walk with reverence. Speak with power. Live with purpose. Because you are not stepping into chance. You are stepping into the fulfillment of God's appointed time. The favor on your life is not a temporary moment. It is a mark of divine calling. And with it comes a higher standard, a deeper responsibility, and a greater outpouring. You must walk differently now. You must speak from a place of conviction, not hesitation. You must move with clarity, not confusion. What was once a hope has now become a holy reality. You have crossed a line in the Spirit where delay no longer defines you. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are right where God intended for you to be. And everything He promised is now being activated in your life. Not because of who you are, but because of who He is. Hold tightly to your integrity. Guard your peace. Protect your time. Choose carefully how and where you invest your heart. Favor attracts attention, and attention often brings distraction. But if you remain rooted in the fear of God, no storm will uproot you. No voice will sway you. And no force can undo what God has established in your life. Look closely at where you are stepping. This season is sacred. You are not simply receiving a blessing. You are being positioned as a light, as a voice, as a pillar others will lean on. The favor resting on your life is not only for you. It is for what God intends to accomplish through you. Families will be restored through your obedience. Generations will be changed through your perseverance. The broken will find healing through your testimony. So live with courage, speak with confidence, rise with humility. You are no longer waiting. You are walking. You are building. You are stepping into what was prepared for you before the foundation of the world. And as you move forward, remember this: the same God who carried you through the waiting is the same God who will walk with you through the victory. This is your moment. This is your hour. Heaven is open. The season has shifted. The favor of God is not approaching, it is already here. The waiting is over. And now, your story truly begins. My friend, hear this question as if eternity itself is leaning in. Are you truly letting God guide you day by day, or have you been drifting through life on habit and instinct, allowing fear, doubt, pride, and the loud opinions of this world to decide who you are and where you go? I say this with a heart set on truth. As long as God is not leading you daily, your soul will remain unsettled. You will keep wandering, keep searching, and still never touch real peace. There is a quiet rest that only comes when a soul is aligned with its Creator. That rest cannot be found in wealth, authority, relationships, or achievements. It appears only when you stop trying to run your own life and allow God to guide your heart. Until you release control, Until you humble yourself before His will, something else will always be leading you. And whatever leads you will shape you. If it is not God, it will be the world. And the world shows no mercy to the soul. Every morning when you open your eyes, two roads lie before you. One is surrender, the other is self. One leads to purpose and peace, the other to confusion and ruin. And too many people, even those who claim faith, continue to choose themselves. They wake up and instead of asking God, "Where would you have me go today? What would you have me do?" they rush into their plans, chasing things that will crumble, answering to people who don't care for their soul, filling their mind with noise and silencing the voice of God with their own ambitions. But hear me clearly. You were never created to lead your life on your own. That was never the design. God made you with a blueprint, and that blueprint requires His voice guiding every single step. Not just in moments of crisis, not just when your plans fall apart, not just when you're desperate and broken. Every day, every hour, every breath. There is a power that comes when you let God lead you. And it's not the power the world brags about. It's not the kind that puffs up with pride. It's not loud or flashy. It's a quiet, unshakable confidence that says, "I may not know what tomorrow holds, but I know who holds it, and I will walk in step with Him." That kind of peace shakes the gates of hell. That kind of obedience confuses the enemy. Because when you are led by God, you cannot be manipulated by man. Let me tell you something about this world. It will try to program you. It will try to script your life, define your worth, tell you who you should be, what you should chase, what you should desire. But God never speaks through chaos. He speaks through conviction, through clarity, through peace, through purpose. When you are tuned into His voice, you stop being driven by the noise around you. You become anchored. You become stable. You become unmovable. And that's the secret. Stability does not come from control. It comes from surrender. I have seen people lose everything and still walk with joy because they were led by God. I have seen others gain everything and still feel empty because they were led by self. What you follow matters more than what you have, because what you follow becomes your God. And if it isn't God leading you, then something else is. And that something else will always lead you into a wilderness you were never meant to enter. There is a deep longing inside every human heart, a longing to be led. And you may not admit it, but it's there. You were never meant to be the master of your fate. That is too heavy a burden for any soul. You were meant to follow God with your whole heart, not half, not occasionally, not when it's convenient, but daily, fully, completely. God does not want part-time loyalty. He's not looking for weekend devotion. He wants your surrender Monday through Sunday, from sunrise to sunset, and all through the long, quiet nights. Because God knows what lies ahead. You don't. And when He leads with purpose. He leads with precision. He doesn't guess, He knows. He knows who needs to walk with you and who needs to walk away. He knows what battles you should fight and which ones you need to be still and let Him handle. He knows where the danger is hiding and where the blessing is waiting. But you'll never know unless you let Him lead. Too many people pray for God's blessing while still holding the wheel. You cannot ask for divine direction while clinging to your own map. That's not surrender. That's contradiction. If you want God's best, you must be willing to drop your plan and trust His path, even when it's unfamiliar, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's unpopular. Let me speak clearly to the one who feels stuck. You've tried everything. You've done it your way. You've pushed and pulled and begged and worked until your hands bled, and still, the peace escapes you. Maybe, just maybe, it's because you're still trying to leave yourself. Stop. Stop wrestling. Stop striving. Stop resisting. Let God lead you. There is a rhythm to the life that follows God. It doesn't move in panic. It doesn't race in fear. It moves in wisdom, in purpose, in discernment. Every step ordered. Every move measured. Every door opened at the right time. Every delay full of hidden protection. That's the kind of life you were made for. A life not led by emotion, but by God's voice. And don't you let the devil lie to you. Don't you let your past tell you you're unworthy to be led by God. Don't you let shame keep you in the dark. God doesn't call the perfect. He leads the surrendered. He's not looking for performance. He's looking for trust. He's not impressed by how strong you act. He moves when you finally admit how much you need Him. When you truly allow God to lead you, you stop needing approval from people. You stop chasing validation. You stop measuring your worth by the standards of this temporary world. Because the one who is led by God knows, I am already chosen, already seen, already guided by the one who knows the end from the beginning. That kind of faith breaks chains. That kind of obedience sets you apart. But don't mistake God's leading for comfort. Sometimes He will lead you through fire, not to burn you, but to purify you. Sometimes He will lead you into storms, not to destroy you, but to reveal that He is your anchor. Sometimes He will lead you into isolation, not to punish you, but to separate you from what's been poisoning your soul. God's leading will not always make sense, but it will always make you stronger. It will always take you higher. It will always grow your character and sharpen your purpose. You see, the blessing is not in the destination, the blessing is in the guidance. Knowing that every step I take is not random, but directed by the hand of the Almighty. That's where the strength comes from. That's where the peace is born. I can walk through the valley. I can sit in the waiting. I can face the opposition because I know God is leading me. And there is no greater honor than to be led by God. Not led by fame, not led by money, not led by the crowd, but led by the quiet, powerful whisper of God that speaks to your heart and says, "This is the way. Walk in it." How many blessings have been missed because someone refused to listen? How many storms could have been avoided if you had just stopped long enough to say, "God, what would you have me do?" But the beautiful truth is, it's not too late. No matter how far you've wandered, no matter how long you've led yourself, no matter how broken your past has been, God is still ready to lead you right now, this very moment. But you must choose. He won't force you. He won't drag you. He invites. He calls. He waits. And when you answer, when you finally lay your pride down and say, "God, I can't do this without you," heaven begins to move. Every giant begins to fall. Every lie starts to unravel. Every fear begins to lose its grip. Because when God leads, He leads in truth, in light, in victory. Not always easy, but always right. Always purposeful. always filled with what your soul was truly craving all along. Let this settle deep within your heart. If you don't allow God to lead you, then you will be led by something far more dangerous, your own desires. And the heart, when left to its own understanding, will always drift toward destruction. You cannot trust your emotions to guide you. You cannot lean on your feelings to define your truth. One day you'll feel strong, the next day weak. One moment confident, the next consumed by anxiety. But God is unchanging, eternal, flawless in wisdom. And when you are led by Him, you are no longer at the mercy of your fluctuating feelings. You are planted, you are grounded, you are walking a path carved by divine hands. The world teaches self-reliance. It celebrates independence. It glorifies doing things your way. But that mindset is the very root of spiritual blindness. True freedom is not found in leading yourself. It's found in submission to the one who made you. You were not created to carry the full weight of your decisions on your own shoulders. God did not design your mind to bear the burden of life's uncertainties alone. That's why He calls you to trust Him. That's why He beckons you into daily dependence. Not as a sign of weakness, but as the highest act of wisdom and strength. When God leads, He does not just show you the way, He becomes your way. He does not just give direction, He becomes your direction. Every morning you rise, He is already there. Every night you lay your head down, He is still watching. He is not distant. He is not indifferent. He is near to the one who seeks His guidance. He honors those who humble themselves and cry out, God, without you, I am lost. There is nothing more dangerous than delayed obedience. Many people say they are waiting on God. But in reality, God is waiting on them to surrender, to obey, to let go. God has already paved the way, already placed the provision, already cleared the storm. But until you step under His leadership, you will never walk in what He has prepared. He does not force His will upon the proud. He speaks to the one whose heart is bowed in reverence and readiness. Let me tell you this plainly. God will lead you where your talent cannot take you, where your education cannot open doors, where your background has no influence. Because when He leads, He bypasses man-made qualifications. He elevates the lowly. He promotes the forgotten. He establishes the rejected. That is the power of divine direction. He doesn't need your resume, He needs your willingness. You see, being led by God isn't just about big life decisions. It's about every single moment. It's about the attitude you choose when someone wrongs you. It's about the way you speak when no one is listening. It's about the thoughts you entertain when you're alone. God doesn't want to lead you just in the crossroads. He wants to lead you in the silence, in the stillness, in the ordinary. That's where real character is formed. That's where the fire of true faith is built. And I must speak directly to the soul who feels forgotten, abandoned, left behind. Listen to me. God has not ignored your cry. He has not missed a single tear, but sometimes He leads through delay, not because He is cruel, but because He is protecting what is sacred. He is pruning what is poisonous. He is developing in you what shallow blessings could never produce. You think you're waiting, but God is working. And when you let Him lead, even the waiting becomes holy ground. Too often people pray for God's direction, but they don't prepare to obey it. Don't ask God to lead you if you're not willing to leave behind what's holding you back. God cannot direct a life that clings to the very things He wants to remove. Obedience means letting go even when it hurts, trusting when it doesn't make sense, moving when the path is not fully visible. That is faith, and faith without action is just taught. If you want to experience the fullness of God's leadership, you must die to your own agenda. Not once, but every single day. You must wake up and say, God, override my plans. Cancel what needs to be canceled. Rearrange what I cannot see. Interrupt me if you must, but don't let me walk a path you haven't ordained. That is the kind of surrender that makes the heavens move. That is the heart God delights in. Not perfection, not performance, but total trust. You must also understand this. When God leads you, He will often take you the long way, not the fast way. He will lead you through discomfort to train your endurance. He will lead you through scarcity to teach you provision. He will lead you through rejection to show you where true value comes from. These are not detours. They are divine training grounds. And those who are truly led by God know that His delays are not denials. They are refinements. They are sacred seasons where your spirit is being strengthened. And when God leads you, He doesn't just guide your feet, He renews your mind. You begin to see life differently. The things that once enticed you no longer tempt you. The distractions that once pulled you begin to fade. Your cravings shift. Your focus sharpens. Because the closer you walk with God, the less room there is for noise. He filters your desires. He reorders your passions. He fills your soul with purpose. And that purpose becomes your compass. Let me ask you again. Who is leading you? What voice is shaping your decisions? If it isn't God, then you are being led by something unworthy of your soul. Because only God sees the whole picture. Only God knows what lies beneath the surface. People may flatter you, deceive you, mislead you, but God sees what man cannot. And when He leads, He doesn't just lead you to opportunity. He leads you away from danger. He blocks what you were never meant to receive. He closes doors that look good on the outside, but are empty on the inside. He disappoints your flesh to protect your future. You must learn to thank God not just for open doors, but for closed ones. Because sometimes the very thing you prayed for was not a blessing, it was a distraction. And in His mercy, God said no. That is leadership. That is love. That is the kind of guidance that saves your life, even when it stings your pride. And let's be honest, it takes courage to let God lead. It takes boldness to go against the grain, to walk by faith when others walk by sight, to be still when others run, to trust the invisible hand of God more than the visible approval of man. But hear me, God never abandons the one who follows Him with a pure heart. He will make a way where there is no way. He will bring water from dry ground. He will raise you up when the world counts you out. But you must be consistent. Not 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Not faithful when it's easy and doubting when it's hard. You must walk in step with God through every season, through the mountain and the valley, through the joy and the sorrow. Because leadership from God is not seasonal. It's a lifestyle, a sacred alignment, a daily communion. And when you live like that, you begin to carry a power that nothing on earth can replicate, the power of a soul led by God. And so, my friend, don't delay. Don't harden your heart. Don't ignore the whisper. God is calling you right now to follow Him more deeply than ever before. Not casually, not occasionally, but completely. Because what He wants to do in your life cannot be done through partial obedience. What He wants to build in you requires full surrender. You may not know every step ahead, but when you know who is leading, you don't need to. You walk with trust. You move with reverence. You live with peace. And I must say this not to stir emotion, but to awaken the slumbering soul. There is no greater tragedy than a life lived outside the leadership of God. You can possess the finest education, the largest bank account, the highest accolades, and still be wandering in the dark, because success without direction is just noise. Movement without meaning is just exhaustion. But when God leads you, your steps are no longer random. They are ordered. Every encounter becomes divine. Every delay becomes intentional. Every setback becomes a setup for something higher. That is the difference between living and simply existing. The truth many avoid is this: it takes discipline to be led by God. This isn't a path for the lazy or the double-minded. This is a walk that demands your whole heart. Because the world is full of distractions, constant temptations pulling you in every direction, opinions, trends, fears. You cannot follow God with divided focus. You cannot walk with one eye on the world and one on the path of righteousness. The soul must choose. And when you choose to follow God, you must train your spirit to listen above the noise, to stay still in the storm, to trust when others panic, to walk slowly when the world is rushing. Let me tell you something few dare to say. God's direction will often cost you comfort. It may cost you friends. It may cost you opportunities. It may even cost you admiration. But it will give you something no man can offer: peace that flows like a river, clarity that pierces confusion, and strength that holds you when everything around you collapses. The true reward of obedience is not only what you receive at the finish line, it is the steady, unshakable presence of God beside you through every turn, every delay, every unexpected moment. You were never meant to be driven by trends, and you were never meant to be shaped by fear. You were made to be formed by the hand of the Almighty. When you fight His direction, you fight the very blueprint of your life. You trade purpose for performance. You accept a copy when you were born for calling, and that calling can only be completed under God's guidance. So I ask you again, not to condemn you, but because this matters. Who is steering your life? When you wake up, whose voice do you reach for first? When choices feel heavy, whose counsel do you trust? When the future feels unclear, do you grab for people, or do you drop to your knees and say, God, I will not move one step unless you guide me? Because there is strength in surrender like that. Strength that breaks patterns that have followed families for years. Strength that shuts down every lie the enemy has whispered. Strength that causes heaven to rise and move for you. God does not lead aimlessly. He leads with purpose. And when you place your hand in His, your life takes on a divine rhythm. You begin to walk not just through the world, but above it. Temptation loses its grip. The opinions of others lose their power. The chaos of the world no longer shakes you. Why? Because your eyes are fixed. Your heart is anchored. Your soul is led by the one who is eternal. Let me speak directly to the dreamer, the visionary, the one with burning purpose but paralyzed steps. You've been trying to make it happen by force. You've been chasing results without direction. But your gift alone is not enough. It must be surrendered to the leadership of God. Because when He leads, He doesn't just make a way. He transforms you along the way. He prepares you for what you are praying for. He builds your character before He delivers your calling. He establishes your foundation before He enlarges your territory. And to the one who is tired, who has followed and not yet seen the fruit, I say this to you. God's guidance is not measured by immediate results, but by eternal impact. You may not see what He's doing yet, but that doesn't mean He's not working. In fact, the longer the preparation, the greater the purpose. The deeper the surrender, the higher the elevation. And when He finally reveals what He's been building in the dark, it will be so much greater than anything you could have constructed on your own. But you must continue. You must not retreat. You must walk, even when the path is dim, even when your legs tremble, even when the voices around you say, "Give up," because the one who is led by God cannot be stopped by man. Obedience always opens doors that hustle never could. Faithful steps move mountains that force cannot budge. And know this, God never gives partial guidance. When He leads, He does so completely. If you only hear fragments, it's not because God is unclear, it's because distraction has deafened your ear. You must tune your spirit, quiet your flesh, purify your motive. Then the voice becomes clear, the steps become sure, the direction becomes undeniable. Don't let familiarity fool you. Just because you've walked a certain path before doesn't mean God is leading you there again. Just because it worked last season doesn't mean it's meant for this one. Being led by God requires constant sensitivity. You cannot live on yesterday's instructions. You need fresh guidance, new direction, daily surrender, because each day brings new battles, new assignments, and new levels of responsibility. And hear me now. You are not too broken to be led. You are not too lost to be found. You are not too late to begin. God is not limited by your past. He is not intimidated by your weakness. He is not disappointed in your journey. But He will not compete with your pride. He waits for the humble heart. He responds to the surrendered soul. The moment you say, "God, not my will, but yours," you shift the atmosphere. You realign with your assignment. You step out of confusion and into clarity. And I say this with the fire of truth burning in my soul. If you truly want to see the power of God at work in your life, you must stop negotiating with His instructions. Stop picking and choosing which commands you'll follow. Stop filtering His direction through your comfort zone. You cannot receive the fullness of God's guidance while holding on to partial obedience. The path to greatness is narrow, not because God is cruel, but because He's precise. He doesn't waste steps. He doesn't give random orders. Every command is for your protection. Every instruction is for your elevation. Every delay is for your preparation. God does not speak to impress you. He speaks to align you. And when He gives a word, it is not for your entertainment. It is for your transformation. His direction demands response. And not just words from your lips, but movement from your spirit. Because true obedience doesn't wait for convenience. It moves at the sound of God's whisper. And when you learn to move at His voice, you unlock blessings that no eye has seen, no ear has heard, and no mind could ever imagine. But many miss this. They want God to speak clearly, but they haven't created space for Him to speak at all. They fill their lives with distractions, their minds with noise, their days with hurry, and then wonder why they feel lost. God does not shout over chaos. He speaks in stillness. He leads those who are willing to slow down, to be quiet, to seek His face above all. If you want divine direction, you must cultivate divine devotion. You must hunger for God's guidance more than you hunger for the opinions of men. And hear this: God will not lead a heart that is still chasing idols. You cannot be led by God while being ruled by greed. You cannot be guided by the Almighty while being chained to bitterness, to ego, to lust, to fear. These things cloud your spirit. They block your discernment. They corrupt your perspective. And God, in His mercy, will often strip away those attachments, not to punish you, but to free you, because He cannot pour destiny into a vessel that's already full of pride. When God begins to lead you, He also begins to cleanse you. He will refine your motives. He will expose your intentions. He will reveal what has been hiding in the corners of your soul, not to shame you, but to sanctify you. Because His leadership is not just about external decisions, it's about internal purification. He's not only concerned with where you're going, He's deeply invested in who you are becoming. And the more you surrender, the more He shapes you. The more you yield, the more He molds your spirit into strength. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, think differently, not because you're trying harder, but because you're being led by something higher. You no longer need to force outcomes, manipulate people, or chase affirmation. God becomes your compass, your confidence, your source. You are no longer driven by pressure, you are driven by purpose. Let me make it plain. God's leadership will often challenge you before it blesses you. It will require sacrifice. It will confront comfort. It will dismantle pride. But every painful shift is preparing you for the weight of the calling that's ahead. Every instruction you obey, even when it hurts, is like a seed planted in faith that will one day produce fruit so abundant it will overflow into generations. But the seed must fall at the ground and die. Your plans must die. Your timelines must die. Your expectations must be placed on the altar, because the one who is led by God must walk by faith, not by sight. Faith doesn't demand a roadmap. It demands trust. And trust is tested when the way is unclear, when the path looks barren, when the next step feels risky. That is where true surrender is born. Not in the sunlight of clarity, but in the shadows of uncertainty. Where you choose to say, God, I don't see the outcome, but I know your character. I trust your heart more than I fear the unknown. That's where transformation begins. That's where faith becomes real. Not in theory, but in practice. Not in lip service, but in life lived on the edge of divine dependence. That is the fire God uses to burn away the shallow life you've known and replace it with something eternal. That is how you are forged into a vessel worthy of His power. And once you begin to walk like this, something shifts. You stop asking God to bless your plan and start asking Him to reveal His to you. You stop demanding answers and start listening for His whispers. You stop praying for comfort and start asking for courage. You no longer want what's popular, you want what's pure. You no longer fear being alone because you've tasted the sweetness of walking with God. And you know that one moment of His direction is better than 1,000 days of wandering in success without Him. Some of you have been stuck in cycles, repeating seasons that should have ended years ago. Not because God is punishing you, but because you've resisted His leadership. You've prayed, yes, you've gone through the motions, but you've refused to change. You've clung to your own understanding. You've followed your own emotions. And until you fully release control, you will never step into the new thing God is trying to birth in your life. But here's the hope. It's not too late to begin again. God is still speaking. He's still calling. He's still leading. But He's waiting on you to respond. He's waiting on you to say, enough of my way. Enough of empty striving. Enough of delayed obedience. God, I'm ready not to understand, but to follow. Not to control, but to trust. Not to lead, but to be led. That's when the breakthrough comes. That's when the confusion lifts. That's when the right doors begin to open. Not because you kicked them down, but because you waited for the key. God's timing is perfect. His methods are flawless. His plans are detailed with wisdom beyond human comprehension. And when you align yourself with Him, you step into a flow of divine favor that cannot be earned, only received through obedience. So listen closely. Don't look for shortcuts. Don't rush what God is refining. Don't compare your journey to anyone else's. The path He has for you is sacred, specific, and saturated in purpose. And when you let Him lead, even your detours become holy. Even your trials become teachers. Even your tears become the water that nourishes the seeds of destiny. Let this sink deep into your spirit. Being led by God is not a one-time decision. It's a daily posture, a continuous surrender, a life that whispers again and again, God, I trust you more than I trust myself. And in that surrender, there is power. In that trust, there is peace. In that obedience, there is protection. So wherever you are, no matter how far you feel, no matter what mistakes you've made, lift your eyes to the heavens and declare with all your heart, God, I am ready to follow you fully, faithfully, and fearlessly. And watch what He does. Watch how He shifts things you thought were immovable. Watch how He restores what you thought was lost. Watch how He creates beauty from brokenness, not because you deserve it, but because you finally let Him lead. And now I speak to the hidden parts of you, the places you keep guarded, the battles you fight in silence, the questions that haunt you when the world grows quiet. You wonder why your life feels heavy. You wonder why doors don't open. You wonder why, despite all your effort, your soul remains. Let me tell you the truth that breaks chains. When you resist God's leadership, you resist your own healing. When you block His guidance, you block the peace you've been begging for. It's not that God is far. It's not that He is silent. It's that the noise of your own control has drowned out His direction. You must understand, God will never compete for space in your life. He is not a background voice. He is not an accessory to your ambition. He is the source, the sustainer, the one who gives life meaning. And until you make room for Him to lead, everything else will remain out of alignment. You can dress it up, you can decorate your schedule with distractions, but your soul will still whisper the truth. I need God to lead me. This is not weakness. This is not failure. This is the deepest kind of wisdom to acknowledge that without God, even success becomes slavery. Even fame becomes emptiness. Even love becomes temporary because the foundation is unstable. But when God leads, when He truly becomes the one who orders your every step, your life becomes anchored in something eternal. I say this with urgency. You cannot fake being led by God. And you may fool people. You may impress crowds. You may even convince yourself for a season, but your spirit knows. And it will ache. It will grow restless because you were not created for a life of self-navigation. You were created to walk in communion with your Creator. That is why, until you surrender your will to His, you will keep circling the same mountains, repeating the same mistakes, feeling the same emptiness. And some of you are asking, but how do I let God lead me? You start by removing the idols. Remove the voices that drown out His whisper. Remove the habits that quench your awareness of Him. Remove the pride that tells you that you know better. God will not force His way into a heart that refuses to make room. His leadership begins where your resistance ends. Not through performance, but through humility. Through an honest heart that cries out, God, I've tried it my way, and I can't anymore. Take the lead. And when He begins to lead you, He will not always take you the way you expected, but He will always take you the way you need. He may not give you the shortest route, but He will give you the strongest character. He may not rush you to the destination, but He will build the strength in you to handle what's waiting. Because God does not just prepare the blessing, He prepares the vessel. And you are that vessel. Let me tell you what happens when God leads. Confusion begins to lift. That weight on your chest, it begins to ease, not because every problem disappears, but because your soul is no longer wandering. You begin to hear clearly. You begin to see purpose in places you once saw only pain. You become more than reactive, you become prophetic. You begin to anticipate with faith instead of react with fear. That is the power of alignment. But make no mistake, when God leads you, the world will not always understand. People may question your decisions. They may label your obedience as foolishness. But you must remember, God did not call them to your path. He called you. And when you are led by God, you no longer need approval from those who are blind to your vision. You no longer need validation from those who can't see the voice that called you forward. And you must not fear the cost, because yes, it will cost you. It will cost comfort. It will cost popularity. It may cost opportunities. But whatever God asks you to release, it is only because He is making space for something far greater. He is pruning the branch so it can bear more fruit. He is cutting ties that were quietly choking your purpose. He is removing what seemed good so He can give you what is divine. Let me speak now to the one who has been led by God but has grown weary. You obeyed, you trusted, and yet the breakthrough hasn't come. The harvest hasn't appeared. Listen carefully. Delay is not denial. Silence is not abandonment. When God leads, He sometimes leads you through the wilderness. Not to punish you, but to prove you. To fortify your spirit. To purify your intentions. The wilderness is not the end. It is the place between promise and possession. And those who endure, those who stay faithful in the quiet, will see a glory no man can take away. There is a weight to being led by God, but there is also a reward beyond anything the world can offer. You will walk with authority, not worldly authority, but divine authority. You will speak with weight because your words will come from a place of alignment, not ambition. You will live with clarity because your decisions are not made in haste, but in step with eternity. You will carry peace, not because life is perfect, but because your heart is in sync with the one who holds all things. So do not shrink back. Do not harden your heart. Do not hesitate at the crossroads. Choose the narrow way. Choose the quiet way. Choose the way that demands sacrifice but leads to glory. Choose to be led not by flesh, not by fear, not by the opinions of others, but by God alone. Let your mornings begin with surrender. Let your days be guided by His whispers. Let your nights be filled with reflection on His hand moving in unseen ways. And when storms come, you won't be shaken. When enemies rise, you won't be afraid, because you'll know you are not alone. You are not lost. You are led. And if you hold on to that, if you live from that truth, if you follow with full faith, God will take you places you never dreamed possible. He will open doors no man can shut. He will raise you in due season. He will protect you from dangers you never even knew existed. He will surround you with peace that transcends understanding. And He will fulfill His purpose in you. Not because you are perfect, but because you are surrendered. That is the kind of life worth living. That is the kind of journey worth walking. That is the kind of leadership worth trusting. So today, this moment, this breath, let it be the turning point. Let it be the day you say once and for all, God, take over, guide me, shape me, lead me, and then walk boldly because your steps are now held in the hands of the Almighty. So now let this truth anchor your soul. There is no safer place, no higher calling, and no greater peace than being led by God. Not just in the moments when life is calm, but especially in the storms, especially in the silence, especially in the uncertainty. When God is the one directing your steps, you are never wandering without purpose. Every step is aligned with heaven. You are not confused. You are being placed exactly where you need to be. You are not ignored. You are being refined. You are not late. You are being shaped for what is ahead. So from a place deep within, let this be the moment you release the struggle and embrace surrender. Release the urge to manage everything, the weight of trying to impress, the anxiety of what you cannot see yet. Raise your heart and speak with steady faith. God, I choose to stop trusting my own perspective. I refuse to be shaken by chaos or fear. I commit to following you completely, willingly, and with confidence. Because when all is said and done, your life will not be defined by what you accumulated, but by how faithfully you followed. Not by the distance you covered, but by how closely you stayed beside the one who formed you. May your journey reflect a life anchored in faith, obedience, and unshakable trust in God's direction. Let every movement, every choice, every word reveal this truth. You were never meant to belong to yourself. You have always belonged to Him. Guided by His hand, protected by His grace, and upheld by His divine plan. And as you step into what comes next, hold tightly to this truth. When God goes before you, nothing can restrain you. No opposition can overpower you. No barrier can withstand His purpose. You rise not through human strength, but through the will of the Almighty, leading every breath you take. Allow God to lead, and watch your life unfold into a living testimony of His glory. My friends, let me place a question before you that reaches deep into your spirit. What would change if you chose to live each day believing that everything, truly everything, is unfolding in your favor? What if, regardless of the chaos, the uncertainty, the delays, or the silence, you held fast to an unbreakable trust that God is arranging every detail for your good? The world around you is loud. It is crowded with voices that impose limits, stir fear, and predict defeat. Yet within that noise there is a quiet summons, a sacred invitation flowing from the throne of God, calling you to trust Him, to walk as though it is already finished, to move as though it is already resolved, to speak as though it has already been fulfilled. Live as if everything is working for you, because when God is your God, it truly is. This is not imagination, and it is not empty optimism. This is holy confidence rooted in God's authority. It stands on the truth that God is not the author of confusion, but the master of order. He does not forget, He coordinates. He does not overlook, He arranges. You may not see the blueprint, but that does not mean there is no design. You may not feel the momentum, but that does not mean you are standing still. Tears in your eyes do not equal failure in your life. Many moments that appear to be losses are actually preparations in disguise. And only those who choose faith over sight will have the vision to recognize it. You see, faith isn't just something we feel in moments of worship. It's not something we touch only when we're desperate. Faith is a daily decision, a constant posture, a lifestyle of radical trust in a God who never abandons His people. So when I say, act as if everything is working out for you, I am not telling you to fake it. I am telling you to faith it. I am telling you to rise up in the boldness of spiritual authority, to shake off the lies of the enemy, and to wear the robe of confidence that God has already tailored for you, because God has gone before you. God has prepared the way. God has seen the end from the beginning. And when God is on your side, nothing, absolutely nothing, can stand against you. You were not created to live in fear. You were not born to dwell in doubt. God did not shape you in your mother's womb for you to crawl through life begging for scraps of joy, scraps of peace, scraps of purpose. You are not a victim of circumstances. You are a vessel of destiny. God has written your story with divine precision, and there is not a single chapter that is wasted. Even the pain, even the losses, even the delays, they all serve His higher purpose. That's why you can walk into every room as if the solution is already waiting. You can step into the unknown as if it's already familiar. You can carry yourself with the composure of someone who has seen the outcome, because your trust is not in the world, but in God. And hear me now, there is no arrogance in this kind of confidence. This is not pride, this is praise. This is not boasting in your strength, this is resting in God's strength. It is knowing that while others depend on their plans, their connections, their education, or their money, you are depending on God. And that is more than enough. That is why you can smile while the world frowns. That is why you can sing in the middle of storms. That is why you can rest when others are panicking, because you know something they don't. You know that God never loses control. You know that God never leaves things unfinished. You know that God never allows anything to happen unless it's working together for your good. Now let me speak to those of you who are in the middle of the struggle. Those who have prayed and not yet seen results. Those who have fasted and still feel stuck. Those who have done everything right, yet life still seems to fall apart. I want to speak into your spirit right now. God is still working. You may not feel it, you may not see it, but God is doing more behind the scenes than you could ever imagine. Just because you are in a dark place doesn't mean God has left you. In fact, some of God's greatest work happens in the dark. Seeds grow in the dark. Diamonds form under pressure. Purpose is refined in pain. You may feel forgotten, but heaven knows your name. You may feel broken, but God sees your wholeness. So lift your head, straighten your back, and walk with faith, because what's coming is better than what has been. Let the world call it delusion. Let the critics call it denial. But you walk like it's already yours. You speak like the door is already open. You pray like the answer is already on the way. Because when you act like everything is working out for you, you are not being unrealistic. You are being prophetic. You are declaring with your posture what your spirit already knows, that God is faithful, that God is intentional, that God is not playing games with your life. You're not living in fantasy. You're living in divine expectation. There is power in expectation. There is an anointing that rests upon those who believe. Even when nothing looks believable, that's why the enemy wants to break your spirit. Because once your expectation dies, your fight dies with it. But I came to remind you today, do not let your expectation die. Do not let your hope dry up. Act as if everything is working for your favor. Because when you live like that, you shift the atmosphere. You change the energy in the room. You move from survival to dominion. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop doubting and start declaring. And that is when God begins to move in ways that blow your mind. Some of you are standing in front of closed doors, and you've been knocking, crying, waiting. But let me tell you, when God closes a door, it's not because He's punishing you, it's because He's protecting you. Every no from God is a redirection. Every delay is a divine preservation. You think you've been denied, but God is just setting the stage for something greater. You must learn to move with divine rhythm, not ahead of God, not behind Him, but with Him. And the only way to do that is to trust fully, fearlessly, faithfully. Stop waiting for things to look good before you praise. Stop waiting for people to approve before you move. Stop waiting for clarity before you commit. Walk like it's already done. Act like it's already yours. Rejoice like the battle is already won. Because if God said He is with you, then what are you afraid of? Why are you second-guessing? Why are you entertaining fear? Fear is not your friend, it is your enemy. And faith and fear cannot occupy the same space. Choose faith, choose belief, choose confidence, not in yourself, but in the one who created you for such a time as this. I know it's not always easy. I know some nights you cry into your pillow and wonder if any of this is real. I know sometimes you doubt if God even hears you. But don't you let the silence convince you of absence. Just because heaven is quiet doesn't mean God is absent. Sometimes God hides His hand so that your faith can rise. Sometimes He delays the blessing so your heart can mature. But rest assured, He never forgets His children. He never abandons His promises. He never leaves things halfway. He is a finisher, and what He started in you, He will complete. So act like you know it's already coming. Dress for the victory. Prepare for the breakthrough. Plan for the overflow. Speak as though the floodgates are already opening. Because when you live like that, when you breathe like that, when you move like that, you send a message to every demon in hell. I will not be shaken. I will not be moved. I will not give in, because God is my refuge. God is my foundation. God is my defender, and He never loses battles. Some of you need to stop explaining your faith to people who don't understand your vision. You are not crazy. You are not too ambitious. You are not naive. You are simply aligned with God's purpose. And when you walk in purpose, don't expect everyone to applaud. Some will misunderstand you. Some will criticize you. Some will try to discourage you. But you must keep going. You must keep walking as if everything is working out for you. because it is. Even in the valley, keep walking like the mountaintop is your next stop. Even in the fire, keep speaking as if the flames can't touch you. Even in the lion's den, keep believing that no harm will come near you. Because when God is with you, natural laws do not apply. When God is with you, supernatural favor breaks the rules. And those who act in faith will see miracles that the doubters will never witness. This is not about pretending, this is about perceiving. It's about living from a higher perspective. It's about seeing with spiritual eyes what the physical world cannot yet confirm. God wants to take you higher. But to go higher, you must first believe higher. You must think higher. You must expect higher. And that begins by acting as if God's promises are already manifesting. You must command your soul to align with your spirit. You must tell your emotions to submit to your faith. When fear rises, you respond with faith. When doubt whispers, you shout back with declarations of truth. When anxiety creeps in, you counter it with divine peace. This is spiritual warfare, and it's won not by complaining, not by panicking, not by shrinking, but by standing, by speaking life, by acting as if the outcome is already victory, because it is. You don't have to wait until you see the finish line to celebrate. Start dancing now. Start preparing now. Start sowing now. Act like the blessing is already in motion, because it is. God is not limited by time. He is not bound by logic. What takes man years to build, God can establish in seconds. But He is waiting for your posture to change. He is waiting for you to step out of survival mode and into faith mode. He is waiting for you to carry yourself like a child of heaven, not a beggar of earth. My beloved, listen closely. There is a divine truth the world has forgotten. When you carry the presence of God within you, you are never a victim of the visible. You are guided by the invisible hand of the Almighty. And because of that, you must train your spirit to walk not by what you see, but by what God has spoken. The storm may rage, but if God has declared peace, then peace is your portion. The road may twist, but if God has ordained your direction, then every step is divine. So I urge you, act like your steps are ordered, because they are. Act like every closed door is part of God's plan, because it is. Act like the waiting season is not a punishment, but a preparation, because God is never careless with time. God is not impressed by worry. He is moved by faith. You cannot please God by crying louder, panicking harder, or fearing longer. But when you trust Him boldly, when you walk into the unknown, as if it is already conquered territory, you stir the heavens. God responds to the one who says, even though I don't understand, I still believe. Even though I can't see the end, I trust the one who wrote the story. And that kind of faith, unyielding, unwavering, uncompromising, becomes a magnet for divine favor. You don't beg for blessings, you expect them. You don't chase peace, you carry it. You don't collapse in adversity, you rise, because you know the one who holds the winds and commands the waves. There is a level of spiritual maturity where you stop reacting emotionally and start responding spiritually. You no longer need external validation to know you are on the right path. You no longer tremble when things go wrong. Why? Because your stability is no longer rooted in circumstances. It is rooted in God, the one who is eternal, unshakable, and sovereign over all things. You live with the inner knowing that if God allowed it, then He intends to use it. If He permits the valley, it's because the valley leads to elevation. If He removes certain people, it's because their presence would pollute your purpose. That's why you can walk forward with boldness even when the terrain is unfamiliar. You can act as if the outcome is already settled, because when God is leading, it is. And hear this: when you carry this kind of faith, your energy shifts. You stop broadcasting your pain and start testifying about your peace. You stop telling everyone about your problems and start proclaiming that God is your solution. You no longer ask, "Why is this happening to me?" You begin to declare, "What is God building in me through this?" That's a transformation. That's not religious performance. That is spiritual alignment. You are stepping into your divine identity. You are becoming who God called you to be before the foundation of the world. People may think you're foolish. They may see you're calm in the storm and assume you're in denial. But what they don't see is the unshakable trust you've built with God in the secret place. They don't see the tears you've sown in silence. They don't see the nights you surrendered your will on your knees. They don't see the depth of your reliance on God when everything else was stripped away. But God saw it, and because of that, you now walk with a quiet confidence, a sacred assurance, a holy boldness. That's why you act like everything always works out for you, because you know who you belong to. You know that God is not in the business of letting His children drown in storms that were designed to teach them how to walk on water. And let me speak to the dreamers, the visionaries, the faithful who have dared to believe God for the impossible. Don't you dare shrink back now. Don't you dare allow fear to abort what God has placed in your spirit. You must act as if the outcome is already in your hands. You must speak as if the harvest is already breaking through the soil. Not because you are pretending, but because you are perceiving through the lens of the Spirit. And what you perceive by faith is more real than what you see with your eyes. Faith does not deny reality. It declares that God's reality is higher. Let your actions match your belief. Don't just pray for rain, bring an umbrella. Don't just ask for opportunities, start preparing. Don't just hope for healing, walk like you are whole. God is moved by preparation. When He sees you moving in faith, heaven opens. When you align your behavior with what you are believing for, doors begin to swing wide. Too many are waiting to feel ready. But faith is not a feeling, it is a decision, a choice to believe that God's hand is stronger than any circumstance and His promise more powerful than any delay. You don't have to convince others. You don't need their agreement. When God has whispered His will to your soul, that is enough. When He has placed a vision in your heart, guard it. When He has given you a word, protect it. Don't explain it to those who are spiritually asleep. Let your life be the evidence. Let your peace be the sermon. Let your unshakable confidence in God be your testimony. When they see you thriving in places where others collapsed, when they see you glowing in seasons that should have broken you, they'll ask how. And you'll answer, it was God all along. Act like your future is secure, because it is. Act like your life is guided, because it is. Act like the resources will come, because they will. God is your source, not the job, not the bank, not the people around you. He can feed you in the desert. He can raise support from the most unlikely places. When He provides, no one can stop it. When He elevates, no one can block it. And when He protects, no one can harm what He covers. So why would you live in fear when your life is hidden in the care of the one who sees all, knows all, and controls all? Stop rehearsing your limitations. Stop confessing your past. Speak your future. Declare your destiny. Talk like someone who knows that God is the author and finisher of your story. Even if the chapter you're in feels dark, even if the lines are heavy with sorrow, the next page has already been written with hope. The ink of God never dries up. His promises are not delayed. They are being delivered. But you must be in position to receive. And that positioning begins with your mindset, your posture, your attitude, your expectation. Walk in it now. Let the fire refine you. Let the trial shape you. Let the rejection redirect you. Let the silence teach you. And in it all, act like everything is working for you, because God is working through everything for you. You don't serve a careless God. You serve a God of detail, a God who sees the end while you are still at the beginning, a God who uses even your mistakes as part of the masterpiece. That is why you must not crumble under pressure. You must not doubt in the valley what God told you on the mountain. You must walk even if you limp. You must believe even if your voice shakes. Because when God is the architect, no storm can demolish what He is building. Every battle is training ground. Every obstacle is an invitation to rise. Every unanswered question is a doorway to deeper faith. So hold your head high, speak with authority, pray like you mean it, and live like everything is already shifting in your favor. Because the truth is, when you align with God, it already is. You are not waiting for something to begin. You are walking into what God already finished. So act like it. Because heaven is watching. The earth is responding. The atmosphere is shifting. And all creation is groaning. Not for fear-filled souls, but for sons and daughters of God who walk in power, who move with purpose, who speak with confidence, who live every day with the quiet, unstoppable force of someone who knows that everything is working out. Not by chance, not by coincidence, but by the divine orchestration of God alone. And now I say to you, with urgency in my voice and fire in my spirit, stop hesitating when you were born to move. Stop questioning what God has already confirmed. Stop shrinking when God has already stretched your capacity. This is not your season to sit still and wait for permission. This is your moment to move forward with the confidence that comes from knowing heaven stands behind you. God did not bring you this far just to leave you questioning. He brought you this far to teach you how to walk as if the mountain has already moved, as if provision has already been released, as if the victory has already been settled, because it has. So many people refuse to move until they see a sign. But often God is waiting for your step before He reveals the sign. He is looking for obedience. He is waiting for your confidence to rise to the level of your calling. He is waiting for you to act, not from fear, not from emotion, but from faith. Faith in His timing, faith in His wisdom, faith in the process He is using to shape you. And when you start living from a place where your trust in God outweighs every visible obstacle, something shifts. You step into a realm where impossibilities begin to collapse, where heavy burdens begin to loosen, where closed doors start opening, not because you forced them, but because God commanded them. Understand this: the moment you live like everything is being worked out for your good, fear loses its voice. The lie that you have been forgotten begins to crumble. The enemy that feeds on doubt gets stripped of his power. When you carry yourself like someone who knows God is arranging every detail, you become a vessel of strength. People will recognize it, not because you are loud, but because the peace you carry will speak louder than anything you could ever say. Your silence will be full of authority. Your presence will be saturated with purpose. Your very being will testify to the truth that God is not just in control, He is intimately involved in the very fabric of your life. Do not be deceived by the delay. The waiting season is not empty, it is sacred. It is a chamber where God prepares you for what He has already prepared for you. It is in the waiting that your roots go deep, that your discernment sharpens, that your identity becomes unshakable. You are not being punished, you are being fortified. And when you finally walk into the moment God has appointed, you will not walk in as a beggar, but as a prepared soul, refined by the fire, focused by the silence, and strengthened by the unseen hand of God. God does not waste your pain. He does not overlook your prayers. He does not ignore your tears. Every moment you've spent in quiet surrender, every time you've chosen trust over panic, every decision you've made to keep believing, these are not lost in the wind. They are stored in the vaults of the divine. And when the time is right, when your heart is ready, when your faith has matured, God will release what was held back. Not because He changed His mind, but because you finally stepped into the posture that could carry the weight of His blessing. So I challenge you, look in the mirror and see someone who is favored, not forgotten. Speak to your soul and command it to align with the promises of God. Walk through your day not as one who is uncertain, but as one who is led. Move with a rhythm of expectancy. Pray as if the answer is already echoing back. Give thanks not just for what you have, but for what is coming, because gratitude is the seedbed of miracles. And when you thank God in advance, you testify that you trust His heart, even when you don't yet see His hand. Let your life be a living sermon. Let your peace preach louder than panic. Let your faith interrupt the fear of others. When people see you walking through fire without being burned, when they see you standing still while everything around you shakes, when they see you calm in the eye of chaos, they will begin to ask the question that leads them to truth. What power is holding you together? And your answer, humble and unwavering, will point in one direction only: God. Because it is God who holds your tomorrow. It is God who commands the seasons. It is God who lifts one and humbles another. It is God who makes rivers flow in deserts and causes light to shine in the darkest hour. That's why you can live as if the outcome is secure, because you know who is in charge. Not man, not systems, not statistics, but God. The one who cannot be overruled. The one whose will always prevail. So stop negotiating with your fear. Stop reasoning with your doubt. Stand in authority. Speak with clarity. Live with the conviction that what God has started in you is unstoppable. Act as if everything is working out for you, because that kind of faith creates movement in the heavens. That kind of faith breaks generational chains. That kind of faith transforms atmospheres. And that kind of faith invites the hand of God to move in ways that logic cannot explain. You are not here to merely survive life. You are here to steward it, to live it boldly, to walk through it as a divine assignment, not a random accident. Everything about your existence is purpose. Every detail of your journey has intention. And when you act like God is behind you, before you, beside you, He will reveal just how powerful He truly is. Your mindset is a weapon. Your expectation is a key. Your obedience is a door. And your faith is a force that causes the impossible to bow. So act as if it's already shifting, because it is. Act as if God is already moving, because He never stopped. Act as if the victory is already won, because it was never in doubt. Do not let temporary confusion block eternal clarity. Do not allow one hard chapter to define your entire book. You were not made to live on the ground. You were made to soar, to rise, to dwell in the high places where fear cannot reach you and doubt cannot control you. And that elevation begins not with what you see, but with what you believe. The highest form of faith is to live today as if God has already worked out tomorrow. And the more you live that truth, the more you will see it unfold before your very eyes. Even now, in this very moment, something is aligning for you. Not because you earned it, not because you forced it, but because you believed God would not fail. Because you trusted that no prayer goes unheard, no faith goes unnoticed, and no sacrifice is ever wasted in the hands of God. There is a power that enters your life the moment you shift your inner conversation from fear to faith. When you stop saying, "What if it doesn't work?" and begin declaring, "Even this is part of God's plan," something changes not just around you, but within you. You begin to live not as someone searching for meaning, but as someone assigned by heaven. And that awareness, that divine awakening, becomes your compass. When your foundation is built on trust in God, storms don't shatter you. They reveal your strength. Delays don't derail you. They deepen your dependence. The challenges don't crush you. They uncover the capacity God placed inside you long before the trial ever began. You must remember, God does not respond to panic. God responds to faith. When you carry yourself as though the victory is already written, when you speak as though the way is already made, when you believe that no detail of your life is random, you honor the greatness of God. And when you honor God in that way, He honors you in return. Not always with comfort, but with clarity. Not always with ease, but with evidence. Evidence that you are not alone. Evidence that your prayers are not empty. Evidence that His hand is guiding what your eyes cannot yet see. There is a discipline of the Spirit that says, even if everything around me feels chaotic, I will remain calm. Not because I'm strong, but because I trust the one who is stronger than all. This is not just a mindset, it is spiritual warfare. Because the greatest battle is not outside of you, it's within. The voice that says, "Give up," is loud, but the whisper that says, "God is still working," is stronger. And that whisper will lead you further than any shout of fear ever could. It is not the absence of trouble that proves God's favor. It is the presence of peace in the middle of it. It is the ability to say, I don't have to understand it to trust it. I don't have to control it to believe that it's being worked for my good. And when you live like that, when you act like every twist in the road is part of a greater map you haven't seen yet, you are not being you are being surrendered. Surrendered to the truth that God is too wise to make mistakes, is too faithful to lie, and too loving to leave you in a place that has no purpose. I speak now to the weary, the stretched, the tired soul, the one who's still standing but doesn't know how much longer they can. Hear this truth and let it burn in your heart. God has not brought you this far to abandon you in the wilderness. The same hand that opened the sea for others will part the storm for you. The same voice that said, "Be still," to the wind, still speaks into your confusion today. The silence you feel is not God's absence. It is His strategy. For when He is quiet, it is because He is working. And when He is working, you can rest. So live with peace that confuses the enemy. Walk through fire and don't even smell like smoke. Smile when it makes no sense. Praise before the breakthrough because you know that nothing can touch your destiny unless God allows it. And if He allows it, He will use it. That is why you act like everything always works out. Not because life is perfect, but because God is sovereign over imperfection. There is no mistake too big for God to reroute. No failure too far gone for Him to redeem. God is not looking for perfect people. He is looking for faithful ones. People who will still stand when it would be easier to quit. People who will still believe when it would be easier to complain. People who will still walk with their head held high even when the evidence doesn't match the promise. Yet you must become fluent in the language of faith. Speak as if the answer is in motion. Respond as if the doors are already opening. Worship as if the floodgates are already pouring. Not to manipulate the outcome, but to magnify the God who controls it. Your words have power. Your declarations shape your reality. When you speak defeat, you strengthen discouragement. But when you speak life, when you speak hope, when you speak trust, you awaken divine possibility. Let this be the day you stop carrying the weight of what you cannot change and start walking in the lightness of what God already has under control. You were not built to carry burdens that belong to God. You were built to believe, to surrender, to rise. Worry is a thief. It steals your energy, your clarity, your peace. But faith is a builder. It strengthens your vision, sharpens your spirit, and opens your life to supernatural order. So drop the weight. Let go of the illusion that your future is in your hands. It never was. It belongs to God. And when you act like it, you walk lighter, you love deeper, and you live freer. Some of you are waiting for the right time to believe, but the right time is now. The miracle doesn't come before the faith, it follows it. God doesn't reward hesitation, He rewards holy boldness. Not recklessness, but reverent trust. The moment you move in that trust, the spiritual realm begins to respond. You are not waiting for breakthrough, the breakthrough is waiting for your obedience. Act like it's already in motion. Move like the answer is already on its way, because it is. Every great move of God begins with someone who dared to walk differently. Someone who looked at a closed door and said, "That's not the end, that's a redirection." Someone who saw an empty space and said, "God will fill this with purpose." Someone who chose to see not what was in front of them, but what God had already ordained behind the veil of time. That someone can be you. That someone must be you. Let your character be shaped not by comfort, but by conviction. Let your joy come not from having it all, but from knowing that God is in all. And when doubt knocks, don't entertain it. Reminded of what God has already done, call to mind every answered prayer, every narrow escape, every whisper in the night that reminded you you are not alone. If God carried you, then He will carry you now. If He provided once, He will provide again. And if He gave you the strength to survive what was meant to destroy you, He is surely preparing you to walk into what will elevate you. And let me say this with the weight of divine urgency. When you begin to live with the mindset that everything is working out for you because God is the one guiding it all, you are not living in delusion. You are walking in alignment with truth that transcends logic. You are stepping into the spiritual reality where your soul no longer bows to fear and your spirit refuses to negotiate with doubt. You become immovable not because life becomes easy, but because your trust in God becomes unshakable. This is the kind of faith that silences storms before they even arrive. It is the kind of trust that transforms waiting rooms into worship rooms and valleys into places of revelation. You see, the strength of your life is not determined by how much you control, but by how deeply you surrender. To act as if everything always works out for you is not arrogance. It is alignment with the nature of God. The one who brings order from chaos, light from darkness, and wisdom out of confusion. When your heart is yielded to God, even your failures begin to serve you. Even your wounds begin to teach you. Even the betrayals that were meant to break you end up building you. Because when God is in control, nothing is wasted and nothing is random. Every twist in your journey, every unfamiliar turn, every delay you did not understand, each one is woven with purpose only God can fully comprehend. You must stop seeing your struggle as a sign of failure and begin to see it as a sign of formation. God is shaping you in the fire so that you can carry what you've been praying for. You don't prepare for greatness in comfort. You prepare in the dark, in the quiet, in the trials that force you to reach for God with everything you have. And once your faith is forged in that fire, you walk differently. You pray with greater authority. You move with certainty, not because you know all the answers, but because you know the one who holds every outcome. There is a boldness that comes from trusting God, a boldness that allows you to show up to life with no fear of tomorrow, a boldness that makes you wake up and speak over your day before the sun even rises. Today will serve me. Today is a day God has already entered before I even open my eyes. No matter what it brings, it is bringing me closer to the purpose that was written before time began. This is how you live when you know that every detail of your life is under divine supervision. Not one tear goes unseen, not one step goes unmeasured, and not one battle is allowed unless it leads to a greater victory. People may see your calm and misunderstand it. They may think you're out of touch, that you're avoiding reality. But what they don't realize is that you are more in touch with eternal reality than they have ever been. You are not ignoring problems. You are trusting the one who solves them. You are not pretending pain doesn't exist. You are leaning on the source who brings peace that passes understanding. You are not escaping life. You are embracing it with a higher perspective, knowing that everything in this world is temporary, but what is rooted in God is eternal. This world is loud. It demands that you panic. It shouts that you should worry. It glorifies stress and fear as if they are signs of responsibility. But faith whispers a different truth. It says, be still, trust God, walk forward. Faith doesn't need to prove itself with noise. It carries authority in its stillness. And when you act like God is already working everything out for you, you are not being irresponsible. You are being radically obedient. Because God never asked you to carry it all. He asked you to trust Him with it all. It takes courage to trust in the silence. It takes maturity to believe when the evidence says otherwise. But that's exactly where you grow. That's where your character is tested and your endurance is expanded. God is not only interested in delivering you from the fire, He is developing you in it. And when you come out, you won't just come out whole. You'll come out with wisdom, with depth, with a testimony that shakes the ground beneath the feet of doubt. Begin to walk into rooms with spiritual certainty. You don't need to be the loudest voice. You just need to carry the presence of someone who knows God is already ahead of you. You don't need to chase people or push doors open. What is yours by divine design will not pass you by. If God has spoken it into your life, it cannot be undone by man, by time, or by circumstance. All that is required is that you live like you believe it. And do not confuse God's pace with His absence. God is not slow, He is precise. He doesn't rush the process because what He is building is meant to last. You're not being punished, you're being positioned. You're not being denied, you're being disciplined, refined, and prepared. God is not interested in temporary highs. He is preparing you for sustainable greatness. That's why you must not think. That's why you must act as if everything is falling into place. Because even when it feels like it's falling apart, in God's plan, it is always falling into place. Your life will change when you stop living from circumstance and start living from conviction. Conviction that God is always working, even when you can't see it. Conviction that God's promises are not suggestions, they are guarantees backed by the full authority of heaven. Conviction that your role is not to figure everything out, but to walk in trust. Speak with confidence and move as if the outcome is already in your favor. Let that become your rhythm. Wake up speaking life. Go to sleep in peace. Let your days be framed with expectation, not anxiety. Let your heart beat with hope, not hesitation. Let your vision be rooted in purpose, not in fear. And above all, let your soul anchor itself in this eternal truth. God is not through with you. He is not finished writing your story. And the ending He has in mind is far greater than anything you could plan or imagine. So now, beloved, allow this truth to sink deep into your spirit. When you move through life as if everything is already working in your favor, you are not pretending. You are speaking in alignment with heaven. You are agreeing with the eternal wisdom of God, declaring by faith that nothing formed against you will succeed. Not because of who you are, but because of who God is. You are not merely wishing for peace. You are carrying a peace that comes from knowing your life rests in the hands of the One who sees the beginning and the end at the same time. Every confident step you take becomes an act of worship. Every time you choose faith instead of fear, you honor the author of your story. So rise up, not with arrogance, but with sacred confidence. Speak with boldness, not rooted in pride, but grounded in unshakable trust. Live each day not waiting for life to fall into place, but walking with the assurance that it already has. You are being guided. You are being protected. You are chosen. And above all, you are never alone. Continue living as if God is on your side, because He is. Keep moving forward as if doors are opening, because they are. Keep believing as if your breakthrough is close, because it is. And when the journey reaches its end, when the storm fades and the dust settles, your life will stand as a testimony, not of your own strength, but of the faithful and mighty hand of God. Let that truth be your confidence, your peace, and your crown always.